Alright, drawing class. Now that you've finished your contour line drawing, what we're going to do is we're going to divide out the positive and negative space. I want us to identify what the positive space is and divide it out from the negative space. So let's look at what the positive space is. The positive space is defined as the figures in the foreground, meaning the cup, the bottle, and the plant, and also the ball. But the negative space will be all the space that we find in the background and all the spaces in between. Now, a negative space would not be inside of the pot because that is also the soil, so that's part of the positive space. All the negative spaces are around the subjects. And so that's what we're going to divide out. So please finish watching this video and follow along and see how I divide out the positive and negative space, and then we'll continue by inking at the end. So you can see all the positive space, and what I'm going to do is erase the negative space and then define some of the edges as I erase. And then clean up the inside, erase the inside of those positive shapes. And then you can see I'm labeling the outside as negative, and then I might put a P on the inside to label it as positive, so I know which is which. Then I continue to define the edges, all the details, because I'm going to go back over them with pen and ink. Remember to erase all the parts that are part of the positive space. A lot of students have a tendency to leave some of the lines in the interior space, but we're really going to break it down to the simple forms of the positive and negative space. And remember that at the bottom of this drawing, that the table becomes part of the positive space. It's part of the ground where the figures sit on. So a lot of that area will end up going away. As you can see, I again labeled it positive. And just continue erasing until you get to the very end. As you can see, I'm grabbing my tape here, and I'm taping the bottom, and then I gently fold the tape over the edge to create the tape on both sides, and then I trim it with scissors on the top and bottom. Then I add tape to the adjacent side, and again, fold it over. After that, you can see I start removing the perforated edge where it hooks to the paper, just to clean up that edge, and then we'll tape over that right after this, using the same method where we apply the tape, then we fold it over, and just make sure it's good and fold it over. And then we trim those edges again with scissors or utility blade, and then we should be done. So I want the students to grab their ink, and you have the choice of the Bombay ink that I had you get or the Super Black ink by Speedball. And then I want you guys to get your crow quill and your brush and have those available. I also want you to have a little card or a separate sheet of paper. Now, I'm opening my ink right here, and I have this little separate sheet of paper, and I usually use it to kind of test out my nib. And hold your nib at a 45-degree angle with the quill facing downward and at an angle. Sometimes I pull it along, and you kind of just draw with it like you would a regular drawing tool, except it needs to be facing downward. And you might have to redip the pen to get some ink in it. And what I'm doing here is I'm following the edge, all of the nuances and details of that cactus or aloe plant, and we're going to follow all the edges of the contour and use the pen and ink with the crow quill to get the edges. And we're first going to define the edge of the contour with the crow quill, and then after that we're going to come in with the brush. So just follow all those nuances and details. The wonderful thing about this tool is that we can get all of the small details, things that we wouldn't be able to get with a pencil, and really defining the edge, making a discernible edge. And just keep following along and keep going down those edges and getting all of those details. And you can orient your paper in different directions when you're working on this, because you might find that your hand will get in the way, or you might risk your hand kind of dipping into the ink. Just be careful. Also, you can't see here, but I'm working on top of a piece of cardboard, just the back of an old drawing pad, so that I don't get the ink on my table. It's important for students to understand that this ink is permanent, that if you get it on your clothes or if you get it on a table, that it can stain. So be careful. And see, I'm rotating the direction just so that I can avoid getting that ink on my hand. And notice that the line got a little fat there. That's okay as long as it's on the outside of the line where I'm going to be filling in the negative space. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to speed it up so that you guys can continue watching and follow along. So right here we're going to grab our brush, we're going to start building in our ink along that contour edge that we did with our crow quill. And just go slowly, and you can get a point to your tip by rolling your brush, and just go slow. Now I'm using a smaller brush, medium to small brush. If you have a bigger brush, you might want to build out that line with your crow quill. Otherwise, we will just keep continuing to ink and moving along. Now it's really important to make sure that you don't rub your hand in that ink that you've just recently painted. So work around and build from the outside in.
She
Now we're going to erase here at the very end, and it's very important for us to understand to let this dry, completely dry. But we can clean this up and really take away all those pencil marks that we left behind and make those edges look nice and clean. Also, the edges that we taped, where we brushed over the edges, we can clean those up by pulling off the tape. And when we pull off the tape, I want us to be very careful. We're going to move very slowly. Very slowly, just peel gently and make sure that we don't rip the paper. A lot of students have a tendency to go too fast and rip the paper. Even your teacher does that. So just be gentle and try to take your time, and it should come off nice and clean and give you a good, clean edge.